Hey guys, John Bergsma here. First video fishing report of the year. Now that everything's up and going, we're here for week one, actually probably day number 2 here at the bait shop in Waterford, right here on Airport Road. Guys, Mark and his crew have done a great job. This place is massive. Throughout the course of these reports, Brett will be showing you all different aspects of what's inside now. I wouldn't even hazard to guess how many more times bigger than the old shop it is, but it looks 4 or 5 times bigger than the old shop. It's got tons of stuff. So we got 3 great reports today. We're going to talk about the Detroit River, then we're going to talk about Lake Erie Monroe, and then we're going to end up with Lake Erie Port Clinton. So stay tuned for 3 great reports. Rather than tell you where the fish are at on the Detroit River, I think I'm going to really tell you more about presentations, because to be honest, the fish are all over the Detroit River right now. Now, obviously, there's good days and bad days. There's high bite times and low bite times. You know, it's a pointless waste of time for me to try to tell you what to predict. What you can do is rig for success. Rigging for success on the Detroit River is the following: a medium heavy rod, a 5'6", 5'9", 6 foot at the most rod. Make sure it's medium heavy. Braided line, synthetic line of some sort, whether you use braid or fire line, you're going to want about a 3 pound diameter, 8 pound test line, and you're going to want to use a combination. I'll give you 3 of my favorite colors. The bait shop has got a massive selection of jigs now. I mean, a whole wall full of them, so you can find the color combinations and the size that you're looking for. One of my go-to baits is a Wyandotte minnow with a straight gold jig. Now, I'm always using a 1/2 to 1 ounce, and that'll depend on which I use. It'll depend on how deep I'm fishing. Basically, that's pretty much it, because I want to stay connected to my bait. So this is called right here is a Royal D with a gold jig. That's an awesome combination on the Detroit River. The second combination that I fished with for years is just a Lunker City silver and blue. Now I pair that with a silver and blue jig, so I'm color comboing that. Again, 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce. I never fish less than a 1/2 ounce, just because I want to stay in contact with my bait. And the last one is the good old-fashioned Wyandotte worm. Now, a worm is a really awesome bait, and I'll tell you what, there are days where the worm will outfish the minnow and vice versa, so you're going to want to show up with both. You don't want to, put all your eggs in one basket. Maybe have 1 or 2 of your guys jigging. The last critical factor to any presentation is this little tiny stinger hook. Now, you'll hear a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions about stinger hooks, but I can tell you what, I have caught way too many fish on the stinger only for me to not have a stinger hook on. And there are some days when I fish down there that the stinger catches half of the fish, and they're not hooked with the main hook at all, just on the stinger. So imagine what my day or what the boat would have been like if we hadn't had stinger hooks on. So stinger hooks, to me, and you'll talk to most of the guys, Lance Valentine, most of the guides down there will tell you stinger hooks are a must for their clients. I mean, if a guy doesn't want to use one, okay, but most of the guys who really want to catch a lot of fish are using a stinger. Now, early in the season, these fish can be anywhere in the river, but they are definitely shallow early, meaning you can be up there in 8, 10, 12 feet of water, even less, 6 feet of water. There's also the thing that's come about over the last few years is having 1 or 2 guys jigging and another guy casting in towards shore and getting up on the flat to try to encounter those females when they're up there spawning. Casting works great. Just make sure the guy who's casting understands where bottom is, because it's also a great way to get snagged a lot. So you got to keep that jig moving. You got to stay in contact with that jig. So the Detroit River is hot. Lots of goods guides down there. I know Lance Valentine and Michael Downey probably don't have any availability. Captain Nick Dode is another one that I fish with a lot. And of course, Eric Long, who is up by the mouth of St. Clair towards the Simbads area. He might be able to squeeze you in on a trip in the upper river. But no matter who you call, go have a great time. If you're hooking up to your own boat, be courteous. get out there on the Detroit River because it is going to be bonsai for the next 2 months.
Make loading and unloading your boat easy with the Dorado Catch and Release Automatic Boat Latch. Load with ease. Simply drive on the trailer and the Dorado will automatically latch to your bow eye. A hard plastic liner protects your boat. For launching, back your boat in, pull the release lever, and away you go. For roller or bunk trailers, the Dorado is quick and easy to install and works with most V-hull boats. Spend less time at the landing and more time fishing. The Dorado Catch and Release Automatic Boat Latch. Online at DoradoProducts.com.
So hey guys, as you go through these video reports, you're going to notice a little QR code in the bottom of the screen. What that is that's a money-saving opportunity for guys who want to get a FlowFast system. Now, FlowFast has been advertising on our show for years. They've made a special online offer to the Fisherman's Digest that people who want to order online can use this code right here on the screen, and we'll leave it up for the whole report for you to be able to go online using that code and get a nice discount on your product. So thanks to Michael from FlowFast. And if you're looking for this code's going to be up every single week for the next 8 weeks to see if we can't help Michael out with some sales. Now we're going to talk about Monroe right now. Now I just filmed a great show out of Monroe last week with Captain Nick Dode from Real Live Action Sport Fishing. There's some other guys a lot of other guides that fish that Monroe. Dan Woodward from Blue Line Charters is a great guide down there. You know, there's just a bunch of guys who do a great job. So let's talk about the baits that worked really good for us. This first one here is probably called Attention Deficit. It is available over at Jeff's. These are all Deep Reapers by Walleye Nation Creation. Now guys, everybody talks about bandits. I put bandits side by side during this test with Nick Dode, and you can text him and ask him if it's true. We started with 5 bandits on one side, 5 reapers on the other side. Within 2 hours, it was 8-1 with the reapers, and we ended up switching them all over and had a 27 fish day in just a matter of a few hours, released a 10.5, a 9, several 8s, several 7s, and just filmed a great show. And these are the colors we used. Attention Deficit, that's over at Jeff's Bait. It's a Domka custom. This one here is a purple, I call it just a purple mamba, but it's purple with gold ladderbacks. Now I'm not sure if this is a factory special or if this is a Doc's custom, but I know that this bait right here catches lots of fish, especially in dirty water. Now, if you're talking about some straight factory colors that we did lights out with, and of course the hooks get tangled, magic. This is just a, you know, everybody who's watching this report is gonna say, oh yeah, red and white. But this little silver in this white really gives a nice flash when you get a sunny day in that darker water. This one is probably my single favorite one, guys, and that's a Disco. This one here I catch more fish on than any other reaper that I run in the Great Lakes waters. Yeah, it's in the water all the time because I believe in it, but this is also a fantastic color. So, Deep Reapers, what was I doing at Monroe that put all those fish in the boat? So guys, you don't have to be far from shore when you're in Monroe at this time of the year. We started fishing in 8 feet of water south of Bulls Harbor. So we basically turned the corner, went south towards Ohio, ran a couple miles, pulled up, sat down, and just got in 8 feet of water and started trolling. Now we did some zigzag trolls. It was a pretty strong offshore wind, so we'd go out to 10 or 11 and then back into 8. So we were covering from 8 to 10, 11 feet of water, caught all those fish. What were our sets? Our sets were pretty important that day because we were in some pretty good stain. So even though we marked fish deep, we were not able to catch those fish. And when I say deep, I mean on the bottom in 8 to 10 feet of water. We were running all of those reapers back 10 to 15 feet behind the board. That's it. So no reaper was deeper than probably 4 or 5 feet at the very most. Our speed was 1.415. Speed didn't really seem to be that big of a deal as long as you're in that 1.315 range. Water temp was 41 degrees, so it was cold. Pre-spawn, we caught a lot of the pre-spawn fish and throw them back in for them to hopefully lay their eggs, and then somebody else can catch them and eat them. But those reapers are a really good production bait. And here's my thoughts on why they work so good at slow speeds. It's because we heard on that particular day that the fish were a little bit off. They weren't really hammering them. And so what we were doing by going slow with a high action bait like a Reaper is that action was far less than it would have normally been. And that slow, along with a softer action, we think triggered a lot more bites. There wasn't so much the lip forward bandit feel as it was this type of a feel. So if you run into that, I would suggest everybody always puts a spread of both bandits and Reapers out and let the fish talk to you.
Wave Pro high performance boat pedestals eliminate bottoming out and back jarring impacts. Now available the 2.0 version and slider seat hubs. The best in air shock technology provides a controlled return to keep you on your seat. Fast and easy to install with permanent mounts or movable hubs for quick and easy seat placement in 10 to 16 inch models. Wave Pro high performance boat pedestals, best ride on the water. Online at waveproshock.com.
So hey guys, right before the last report, and it's going to be Port Clinton, Ohio, back to the bait shop here in Waterford. You know, Mark's invested a ton of time, money, and his staff has worked their butts off all winter long to get this store moved in from the small little shop next door. Now that little shop was a dynamite little spot. Everybody's got this spot in their heart for it, but you know what? This place was needed, a bigger store with more variety, more options. And so you guys know, if you've never visited the bait shop, we're right here on Airport Road in Waterford. And one of the things that Mark and the guys are known for is not just a good variety and a splash of a lot of different things, but it's awesome bait. You know, bait can be a tough thing to buy anymore. It seems like people have bait and then they won't have bait, or they've got some bait but they don't have all the bait. Well, during the times of the year where the bait is required, they'll have waxworms, night crawlers, earthworms, leeches, pike minnows, shiners, fatheads, you name it. Whatever the season requires, the guys are going to have it, and they're going to have it in spades, and so that when you come in, you can have confidence that you're going to be able to get what you need. Of course, they get rods, reels, and all the bass tackle, walleye tackle, and panfish tackle that this area around the bait shop needs. You know, there is tons of lakes right here in a little 20-mile radius around the bait shop, and a lot of the customers of the bait shop are actually local lake property owners that come in to fish themselves or with their grandkids or with their own kids on their small lake. And so they're set up to really cater to the people who need all the tiny little things that would require: snaps, swivels, all the right hooks for your bass setups for casting on inland lakes, walleyes, and of course an entire wall dedicated to the Detroit River fishery with the right size jigs, the right color jigs, and 3 or 4 different manufacturers. I saw Big Bite, I saw Lure Lipstick back there, I saw Lunker City, Wyandotte Worms. You've got all the type of manufacturers that you need with all of the different colors you need to get out on the water and do a great job when you're on the Detroit River. So give a visit to the bait shop in Waterford. Now, Port Clinton, Ohio. Now this has been ripping. Actually, you could say from the mouth of the Maumee River all the way through to Kelly's Island has been on fire. I've got great reports in front of Oak Harbor, Fenwick, Davis, Bessie, Port Clinton. This is where the fish are sitting right now. Basically from around Green Island through the island complex and through to Kelly's Island, there is fish in that general slot area heavily. Guys are catching these fish depending on watercolor. In the dirtier water, they're catching them high, similar to what we did in Monroe, anywhere from 15 to 40 feet back behind your boards. When you get out in a little bit cleaner water, let's say west of Kelly Island, where you get out over 30 and 40 feet of water, those fish are going to be more down that 10, 12, 15 feet down. Then you're going to want to go ahead and spread those leads out and go and set a spread out. Maybe set them out 30 feet, 50 feet, 70 feet, 90 feet, and put that spread on both sides and let the fish talk to you. Speeds have been basically 1.5 to 1.6. I talked with John Goebel from Customized Sport Fishing, who's been there, and he's almost done. This will be his last week there before he heads up to Drummond Island. Just having a great time with regular customers that come because they want to experience that Lake Erie big fish experience. But again, this bite is really just getting started. This is going to go hot and heavy for the next 6 weeks to 2 months right there in that island complex before the fish start to spread out. And remember, pretty much all of the fish coming out of the Maumee River are going to filter through the Bass Islands. So if you're going to go to Port Clinton, the best place to stay by far, my friend Mark Kalick owns the Bay's Edge Resort. He's got a great complex there with condominiums that sleep 6 to 8 people. Call him on the phone if you want. He's also got a group of charter captains that works out of Bay's Edge, and they can get you out on a charter if that's what you're looking for. But the Port Clinton area is firing on all cylinders. So basically Detroit River, Monroe, all the way to Port Clinton, 3 great reports. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week talking about Alpena, Saginaw Bay, and the river system of Oscoda, and also Manistee River over on the other side of the state. We'll see you next week here on the Video Fishing Reports.